it water with the sheep in the box?
This is just a brief video I'm making in response to some recent discourse that I feel is important, but I don't really have enough to say about it to really make into a full video essay. So I guess here's just my thoughts on an issue that's been bugging me for a while and came to a head recently. Hey, so you know how the entire purpose of left-wing politics is to appeal to and advocate for the working class, and that the only way we can do that is to build class consciousness and empathy? Well, here's a wild idea. How about we make our messaging clear, easy to understand, and, above all, not smug and pretentious? There's a running meme among left-wing circles online about theory nerds and the fact that a lot of people seem to think that if you haven't read 100 books written by old men with beards 150 years ago, then you're not a real leftist and you don't really understand. Unlike me, of course. What, you looked up the summaries or watched helpful YouTube videos discussing the ideas? No, fuck you, read the theory. Most of us on left-wing YouTube, myself included, want to make videos that can appeal to and be enjoyed by a majority of people, and especially the working class people we supposedly want to bring over to our side and convince of our points. Partly to educate and instill class consciousness, but also to be easily enjoyed by said people. I like to think that that's what my videos do, helpfully explain simple aspects of leftist theory and ideology to a layman. And when I write my videos, I try to make them digestible, understandable, relatable, and above all, not talk down to anyone watching. I think I mostly succeed in doing so, though you may disagree, and my slow channel growth may imply that perhaps my work doesn't have quite the broad appeal I think it does, but regardless, that's the intent. Not that a certain amount of academia and theory doesn't have its place on the left, of course it does, but the difficulty when trying to apply it to a YouTube video or Twitter thread is to make sure not to make it just a bunch of esoteric nonsense, impenetrable to anyone who hasn't read all the theory you have, and above all, just smug and the intellectual equivalent of sucking your own dick for 24 minutes. I don't particularly want to start drama or beef with anyone, but in order to have this discussion, I need to use examples, so let's just use left-wing Twitter's current villain, Kelly Zahos, because she is the ultimate encapsulation of this idea, and technically it's still punching up because she has more subs than me, so there. She tries so desperately hard to be ContraPoints, but with none of the budget or skill, and crucially, unlike ContraPoints, lacks the ability to make the ideas she discusses relatable or accessible to any ordinary working class person. And let's be honest here, Contra, and especially PhilosophyTube, do skirt the line and sometimes briefly step over it when it comes to pretension, whilst being an absolute dickhead on Twitter and genuinely trying to claim that people who prioritize the safety of marginalized people over the well-being of bigots is actually just a radlib with radlib ideas, and of course, like all lefties, will happily insist that everyone but them isn't a real leftist. Yep, you heard me right, this woman will happily claim that women are inherently fascistic, anti-racism is bourgeois, and yes, getting a transphobe fired is anti-working class, claims that people like Sean are out of touch and unable to connect with real working class people, whilst making content that I can guarantee will be frankly impenetrable to like 99% of working class people, myself included, and unlike most working class people, I have actually done the reading. Most of my friends are pretty far left, and as an experiment in preparation for this video, I asked a bunch of them to watch her most recent video and try to get through it all without becoming bored, frustrated, or condescended to. None of them made it past 5 minutes. Just to reiterate, this woman thinks that people like me, who make videos specifically designed to be accessible to anyone, whether or not they already agree with me, are out of touch with the working class, whilst producing content that could never in a million years appeal to a working class person. And in response to people commenting, saying that maybe she should simplify and make her work more accessible, responded, I think it's maybe just ideas that feel new since they aren't really prevalent on the left. But that's okay. What matters is getting to feel smug while spouting impenetrable faux intellectual bullshit and not actually furthering or helping the leftist cause at all, right? For reference, this video was made by someone who accuses other lefties of being out of touch with the working class, ignoring that most of us are working class, without a hint of irony. I'm sure this shit will help bring the average working class person over to the left, right? Oh, and also, whilst it's not really relevant to the main topic, can we stop acting like there's some kind of massive divide between marginalised people and the working class? Most marginalised people are working class to start with, and this idea that working class people are all bigots, so by clamping down on and punishing bigotry we're actually harming the working class, is just utter fucking bullshit, and ironically enough, something a radlib might say.
Oh dear, I seem to have spotted a cunt. Good day!